Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Today on the show, I want to talk about success. What would you do to attain great financial success? Well, unfortunately, many would look at a financially rich person and automatically deem them as successful. I believe there's a big difference between some person who only possesses great wealth versus a truly successful person. Most will also come to tell you that there could be a price to pay for somebody that's chasing and building a financial empire. There's a great balance obviously needed between work, family, and children. Today we're going to meet somebody who has truly mastered life's great balancing act between all these things and has become very successful. Entrepreneur, empowerment coach, and author of the new book, Surviving Your Teenager and Being Happy Anyway, Judith Joy is on the show. Amazing woman. What a talent. We also have entrepreneur and real estate guru Amy Norris will be stopping by. You know, many people don't know, but Judith is also an energy expert. So if you're looking for an energy boost or how to build a relationship with your teens or just how to have more happiness in your personal or business life, this is an episode you won't want to miss. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stick with us. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our show. I'm here joined by my lovely friend, Margot Bush.
Friend, I am a friend.
How are you, Margot?
I'm good.
I can't talk tonight for some reason.
I know.
Before we get to Judith, I wanted to bring on our dear friend, Amy Norris. Tell us what's going on in the real estate market. So please give a warm welcome to Amy Norris, everybody.
Hi, Margot.
Hello.
How are you? Good. Hey, Dan.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. First of all, I have to ask, did you get your necklace? I was.
Yes, I did.
You know what I'm talking
yeah,
about?
Nikki made me a beautiful necklace. She's
I was
very
actually
talented.
a messenger. Boy, I don't know if you know about this, but apparently you had bought a necklace from a mutual friend that I know.
Yes.
And you two never get together, so they gave the necklace in my possession, which is a big mistake. And then
Not
I
a
said,
good idea.
When am I gonna
Not
see
a good
Amy?
idea.
So I passed it to Margot, and then
Yes.
eventually it got
She
to
got
you.
it to
and
And I got it to her quickly, but then I didn't get it back to you.
the receipt
the
and all the other
other-
stuff
yes.
back, and oh,
Yeah.
what a nightmare. And that's what happens when you try to, you know, do something. But anyways, I'm glad it worked out.
Yes.
Now, I know you stopped by, and we appreciate your visit stopping by, kind of telling us what's going on in the housing market. You always bring so much value, not only to buyers, sellers, but the whole gamut.
Thanks.
And currently, you're always number one. Actually, I know you're
My
number one.
team and I, yes.
Your team and I, that's
Yes.
got to give them some credit. But tell us
Absolutely.
what's going on. What do you have for us?
Well, today we're going to talk about mortgages and credit, which are very important. We do have a lot of cash buyers down here, but for people who are going to get a mortgage, you know, credit is everything, as you know. And a lot of people don't know this, that even 50 points on your credit score
Right.
can make a difference of $50,000 to $100,000 of like compounding interest over the life of your loan.
Wow.
So it does make a big difference. Credit is so important when you're getting a mortgage.
And in terms of credit, I know there's different. I know that the different houses will look at ability to pay, and they'll look at history and other things.
Yeah,
but
debt to income ratio.
yeah, that's one thing I've always seen that is it's a real easy thing to increase your credit score because there's so many people out there that will they'll say, well, I'm going to get rid of all my credit cards, and the worst thing that you can really ever do is cancel the credit card. Because utilization, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they want utilization somewhere between 25
to 29%.
Yeah, 30% at the max.
Yep.
So if you have $10,000 of available credit and you have $4,000 of bills that you put on the card and pay off every month, even though you're paying them off every month, you have a 40% utilization rate, which can kill 50 to 100 points automatically.
Yeah,
from
that
your
was
score.
surprising to me
Yeah.
because you would think, well, they were going to give you extra credit for paying off your credit card every
Yeah,
month, but
it
no.
hurts you.
They don't want you to tap into more than
Yeah.
a third of your credit. And of course, that's out of all your credit, like your credit cards and all that.
Right, and I know I've coached people over the time that have said, you know, they have a certain amount, let's say available total credit is $20,000, and they'll get more credit card offers, and they say the last thing I want is more credit cards. I want less credit cards, and that actually shrinks their utilization.
Yeah, they should get more because then it would spread out the utilization rate across the board to less than 30.
Yeah, so that's a simple thing that you can do. Again, you look at the total available amount of credit limit that you have, and then how much are you using on a monthly basis, and we want to keep it around 25% would probably be optimal. And then if you're using more than that, go get a couple more cards, because that's the right place. And I've seen people that have pristine credit, but they can't get over a 700 or a 750. And just that one adjustment can a lot of times give them 100 points.
It's huge, yes. And then a couple of other tips. Of course, if you're going to get a loan, it's really important that you stay in contact with your loan officer. Don't make any major purchases right before you close on your home. You know, a lot of people will try to go out and get a car, do something else. Talk to your mortgage lender before you make any purchases like that. Anytime your credit is going to get hit, because that could severely impact it.
It could be just when they, you mean as far as like dinging your credit? And they could mess everything up.
Yeah, it could mess up. And then the other thing I was going to tell everybody, I have this great program that people can sign up for. It's called the Amy Norris Team Client Appreciation Referral Program. And every month you'll get some free, great information either via email or snail mail sent out to you. This one talks about eliminating debt and how to achieve financial freedom. So just go ahead and send us an email. You can get our contact information on www.amysellsthebeach.com.
Amysellsthebeach.com. There you go. Free education, everybody. You can't beat that. Stick with us. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Judith Joy, everybody. Don't go anywhere. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to entrepreneur, empowerment coach, and author, Judith Joy, everybody. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I am doing great, and I hope you can bear with us. Usually, it's much cooler in our studio for some reason. I am literally turning into a Mexi Melt. I mean, but anyways, welcome. I'm so glad to have you on the show. I know we've been talking for quite a long time, and I know we have several mutual friends, Doc, and I'm glad that he came with you as well. Hey, Doc. Hey. And Sharp guy. And first of all, I know that obviously you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. You've been an empowerment coach, and of course you have the book, which we're going to get to. But before we get to the book, talk a little bit about your coaching. A lot of people don't necessarily know what an empowerment coach is, or maybe they might not realize the need for one, but talk a little about your coaching specifically and what you do.
My coaching is a combination of life coaching and energy.
Right.
And I'm trying to teach you, like if I was working with you, I'd be trying to teach you how to shift your energy so that you don't have to always come back to me.
Gotcha. So instead of, I remember years ago I was running some sales companies, and I would go in every morning and I would do a sales, a meeting, and everybody would be pumped. But I noticed that I was kind of like like a battery. I was always charging them up. And I remember one time getting so upset because every week I'd have to go in and do the same thing, and I felt like they weren't holding any charge, so to speak. You know, I felt like it wasn't going forward. And I remember one time asking the group, I said, you know, you guys hook up to me and use up all my energy every week and you're not learning anything. I said, do you know what would happen if I actually stopped coming in for a week? And one of the guys goes like this, flat line, beep. He actually said that. But, you know, when we're working with people, we want them to empower themselves to where they don't have to come to you so much and rely on your energy so much.
Right.
And, I'm from Southern California, so when you talk about energy and other things like kinesiology and other types of alternative medicine, I believe it. I've seen some things that it's phenomenal. But I'm sure you've experienced, you get into certain parts of the South or the Midwest, and you start talking about energy, and people think it's like voodoo. So explain just an overview of the way it works, because I know that coming in as an empowerment coach, you didn't always start as an empowerment coach. You started off on kind of a bumpy road, and you had some health problems yourself. So talk a little bit about that.
I started with headaches, and I went to the mayor. First off, I got married, which was the headache.
Right.
But my then husband noticed that I was getting headaches every day.
Yeah.
So we went to the Mayo Headache Clinic, and they said, you have headaches, take Excedrin.
Those are smart guys. That's the
Yeah.
best I come up with at the Mayo
I think in 30 years they
Yeah.
learned. Then I went to a headache clinic,
Yeah.
and they said, here, have some drugs.
Right.
Well, it didn't really solve the headache problem. So then I went to a Catholic hospital in Indiana, and they said, put your husband before yourself.
Huh.
And they were serious. Well, I've since gotten rid of the husband, and I switched. So I switched over to alternative.
Yeah.
And I do chiropractic and acupuncture and energy and all the supplementation and things like that. The energy started, and it was like, all right, I'm laying on this table, and this guy is tapping my head. This is weird.
Yeah,
This is
right.
really
it does
weird.
seem strange at first.
But I'm still working with this same doctor, and we started out doctor-patient, and
Right.
then we became mentor-student, and now we're colleagues.
Right.
He's helped me understand that everything is energy.
Right.
Everything. This desk is energy.
Yeah.
And your feelings are energy. And what happens in the body is that you get so uptight about something that you're holding on to a certain energy or a certain viewpoint.
Right.
And that's guiding everything else that is being attracted to
Right.
you. And what I do is help you balance and neutralize so that what you want comes towards you, your hopes, your desires, your dreams, your wishes, they're all coming towards you.
Right.
Instead of you pushing them away.
Well, and I know a lot of people would look at it and they would say, like, maybe this is a little faith-based. You know, like, I don't know if there's an energy. But to be honest, there's some real hard science behind this. In fact, I'm sure you've seen the doctor. There's a doctor in Japan where he puts 3 jars of water, and he'll write a word on one of them that says, like, hate, and then joy, and whatever. And he'll focus that energy on those, and the hate one, after a little bit amount of time, it'll turn into this really black, ugly-looking crystal where there's no water in it, and the one that's love or joy will be blue and real pretty. But I mean, there's a real, there's some real hard science that backs up
Yes.
what you're saying. It's not so much faith-based. And so now, are the headaches kind of tapered for you? And you?
Oh yeah, much better. In fact, with the energy, there's sometimes that I can take my headache, literally suck it out of my head, and then throw it into another dimension.
Wow. How about another person? Could you do that?
Sure.
Okay. I got a couple of people we'll talk a little bit. And I have to say that I've always read that everything kind of has a certain frequency. So if you eat certain good foods, they have a higher frequency. Walking on the beach has a very high frequency, smelling a rose. But if you eat bad things or you're around negativity or other things, it has a low frequency. And that really affects your mood and other things. Is that?
Well, David Hawkins explained it very well. You have 0 to 1,000. And the lower numbers are the lower energies, and the higher numbers are the higher energies.
Right.
So the low energies would be like apathy and grief. And when you're feeling grief, it's very hard to do anything. And you're just sort of slugging, oh, I'm getting through the day.
Sure.
But as you move up and get closer to courageousness, acceptance, peace, things like that, it's like things come to you and they're easy. So the object is to move up the scale. Doesn't mean that you're always up the scale.
Sure.
I mean, you're going back and forth. But the more you can get up here, the better you're going to feel and the easier life will be.
Right. Well, and you meet a lot of people like that that just have such a low energy. Even when they talk, it's like, hey, I mean, they can barely formulate, function in society. But when you really get to talk to some of these, they've been through a traumatic event or grief, and they're dealing in such a low frequency, it's hard to deal with anything. And I suspect even cope with problems and normal stress that people would encounter would be very difficult. So we're going to take a quick break. But when I get back, I want to talk about this book that has a buzz going around, Surviving Your Teenager. And I found it to be fascinating. Stick with us. We'll be right back. More with Judith Joy in a minute. Don't go anywhere. Thank you. Welcome back. Welcome, everybody. I'm here with Judith Joy. We've been talking about energy. And I want to ask you about your book, the new book coming out, Surviving Your Teen and Being Happy Anyways. What prompted you to write the book?
Well, for a long time, everybody wanted me to write and write and write, and I'm like, I don't know enough. I've only gone to a zillion classes and read 2 zillion books, and, I don't know enough, so I have to keep going. So I was just like, all right, fine, I'm a writer. I've always been a writer. And then Doc said, hey, I'm going to go meet this guy, and he's in publishing. So
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I had said I was blocked in writing, and I needed a writing coach, someone to push me forward. So we went to go meet with this guy, and then, lo and behold, I had a publishing contract with a writing coach.
Right, and everything just started coming out. And I know who you're talking about as well. Adam is a dear friend, and I have to tell you, he's a brilliant guy, isn't he? I mean, a writing coach, no matter if you're a writer or you're an entrepreneur, doing what he does, there's a real knack to being able to.
And he's so kind and gentle.
Oh, he's just such a heart guy. Now, I have to ask, how would you say that this book, because I know that the book will be out in a few months, and there's already a lot of buzz and a few surprises, I think, along the way, but how would you say this is different than, let's say, other self-help type books?
Well, this is teaching the parent how to change their own behavior and how to change their own energy so that they become more peaceful, they become an observer, let go of judgment, and then you get to try on experiences.
Right.
If you go through life, you're always trying on experiences, and some of them work for you and some don't. And you just let go of the ones that don't work and then keep the ones that do.
Yeah. Well, and when you read the title, Surviving Your Teenager, you think you know what it's going to be about, but as you just mentioned, it's not really focusing on, actual parenting. It's more on the parent's behavior and how you can really affect what they're doing. I found it fascinating, but I want to ask you, you talk a lot in the book about finding truth. And when it kind of struck me weird when I read that about finding truth, because some people would say, well, there's only one truth. Isn't truth, truth? But you talk a lot about how truth is really, it's a perception. Expound on that a little bit. I found that very fascinating in your book.
Truth is based on whatever your perspective is. It's how you look at something. If you come at life because you were abused, your truth is going to be that other people aren't safe. But if you come at life because everybody has been really nice to you, then your truth is that people are safe.
Right.
And then truth is only true until it's not. So when you feel safe again, then people are more safe.
Right. And I feel like, I know in the book it talks about teaching you how to follow your intuition.
Yes.
And I feel like over the years I've kind of developed, I trust my gut, so to speak. I feel like I have good intuition. But does that rule really apply to everybody, that just trust your intuition? What if how do you know if your intuition's right?
Well, you start with small things.
Yeah.
And you sort of test it out with the small things. And it's this little voice in your head. And it's just sort of talking to you, saying, take your umbrella, or don't go in that door, things like that.
Sure.
And you listen to that voice, and the more you listen, the stronger it gets. And the stronger it gets, the more you trust it. And then you're just automatically listening to it all.
So somebody that maybe they don't follow intuition, maybe deep down they don't trust themselves, and they trust others. And I have to say, I want to make sure I get this right. In the book, it said, what you focus on is what you get. And can you explain a little bit about what you meant on that part?
A lot of parents focus on the bad behavior that their teenagers have. In every situation, there's something good. Find the good. Focus on that. It's like when you're driving down the highway and you're focusing on the road, you're actually driving on the road.
Right.
But if you're driving down the highway and you're focused on the building, you're going to find yourself turning the car towards the building. It's the same principle. So find the good and then focus on it.
And if your child does have some wrong behavior or act bad, how should we react?
First is to get calm within yourself so that it's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's all about how you react to things. So once you're calm, and then you go to the teen and go, okay, what's this really about? Because I know that this behavior wasn't what we wanted, but why did you have this behavior to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, like you said, a lot of times before you have all the facts, there's kind of a knee-jerk reaction of, what are you doing? And I have to say, when I was reading the book, I have a 5-year-old, as you know, and I was already thinking like, oh man, in 8 or 9 years, I'm going to be, but it really is more of training for the parents. And
you can start your training now.
Yeah, that's what it's really not for teenagers. It applies to many relationships. I have to ask you a question real quick. The other day I was in a conversation with some colleagues about success, and I have a very specific definition of success. I think, like we were talking about in the opener, a lot of people will look at a very financially successful person and automatically say, they're so successful, and maybe even look to them as a role model. And I think that success at least encompasses 5 things. I think that, your faith and belief system should be first, whatever that may be. I think you need to believe in something more than money. I think that, your family has to come before, business. I think financial freedom is one aspect of it. But 2 things that people really leave off is just happiness. Sometimes we might figure out a way to make money, but at the expense of canceling out and not being happy and just kind of existing and not having that joy anymore. And then I think a big part of the recipe, in my terms, is giving back. And I know that I think on those 2 things, I think you would agree. I know that your father, who I appreciate you sending me the book a few months ago, Jack Miller, he had written a book a long time, How to Start, Build, and Grow a Multi-Million-Dollar Business the Old-Fashioned Way. And he also, as yourself, do philanthropy work and give back quite a bit. I know that's definitely part of the recipe for sustainable success. But talk briefly about what your definition of success is and why you think it is so important to give back, because I know we kind of agree on that point.
It's just something that you do.
Yeah.
You're just born to help people. And I'm in a position that I can help people.
Yeah.
And it's not helping them to give them the next meal, but it's helping them to teach them how to cook. Or it's helping to teach them how to do their job so they can earn the money so they can cook, so they can have their next meal.
Well, and I think, again, perspective, I think you're saying it's just something you do because you were raised in that atmosphere and it was the way that things were. But there's so many out there that weren't raised that way, and they just helping a total stranger, let's say, might be a completely new thought of like, why are you helping that person? You don't know them. But
bringing intuition into it. One day I was going to a Chicago Cubs game, and I had 2 extra tickets. And so I was like, all right, what am I going to do with these tickets? And my intuition said, you're going to give them to a father and his son. I'm like, okay. So I brought the tickets, went to the stadium, almost in the door, and a father and son came over to me and asked for tickets.
strange.
And so I gave it to them.
Yeah.
Turns out they didn't use it, they sold it. But,
the moral of the story is.
but I was listening to my intuition,
Yeah, sure.
and then I said, well, maybe they needed the money more than
Yeah,
they
you
need
never
the
know.
tickets.
Well, and I'll tell you, a lot of people look at the laws of attraction as more of a, like I said, a faith-based thing of, if you give more, you'll receive more. But it's actually physics-based. I mean, there's a math-based thing that if you put good things out there, it's going to come back to you. And that's very physics-based as well. And when the book comes out, where will we be able to get the book? I know it's out in a couple months. Is that right?
It's going to be through Amazon.
Amazon and the bookstores across the country, and I think also Indigo River. Publishing.com. We're so excited. I'm going to pick up one of the first copies. Please come back and say hi to your dad for us. Judith Joy, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to get involved in your local community and be forgiving of others. Good night, everybody. Hi, I'm Dan Vega, and thank you for watching our channel. I want to take a second to tell you about a resource that's helping thousands of people across the country, Blue University. Blue University is the premier online business school for entrepreneurs and business leaders. You know, if you find yourself in a day-to-day grind where you've lost your joy or you're just tired of struggling, then check out blue.university. That's BLU.university. I can promise that you receive nothing short of a multi-million-dollar education. And if you want a completely different life in 3 to 6 months and a way to create wealth in 5 years or less, then again, check it out. That's BLU.university. Find out why blue is the new color of success. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel or to give us a good rating, but that's only if you see value. And when you do receive value, make sure to share it with someone else. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.